Test, test, 1, 2, looks good. Hey guys, thanks for stopping by. Good show as always, Scotch for Dummies. And good to see that Mark had a good time up in New York with KB and Bob H. That was a cool show. I'm glad I caught the live earlier. And hopefully I'll run into those guys sometime. We'll see. I know that a lot of people are talking about going up to New York in Christmas time for there's a big whiskey fest up there. So I'm not sure what the exact dates are. I'll have to look into that. But I'll be traveling around Christmas time, so I might not be able to make it. But we'll have to see when it is. Anyway, we are going to take a look at a couple. Well, actually, a few bottles. I'm going to start with something a little different, and this was actually a sample that I've already went through and I did not give it a good score at all. It was actually one of the worst experiences I've ever had drinking scotch. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to talk about this independent bottling and what they did wrong with this, but I'm going to talk about the same independent bottler and what they've done correctly and what was great. So that'll kind of balance out a negative review. And the review is not really pinpointed towards the independent bottler. It's more for the distillery is half the battle too. If you have a great independent bottler, but the distillery doesn't put out great juice, that could be an issue in itself. Hey Tom, can't hang out tonight, but I will watch recording tomorrow. That's no problem, man. Thanks for stopping by. At least I know it gets late for some of you guys, and I'm gonna try to see if I might be able to get a different time on a different day at some point, but we'll cross that bridge later. But yeah, I'm really happy to get a lot of you guys on the playback and get subscribers and people into just sitting down and having a dram with me for an hour. It doesn't even have to be the same kind. Hopefully, my chit chat will entertain you a little bit, at least maybe give you some insight on a couple distilleries, a couple drams, a couple different casks, things like that. So that's what it's all about. Hey, thanks for stopping by, Scotch for Dummies. It's probably Drew. I tried to wait. I'm not sure if you guys were still running, but I thought, well, I waited till about 5 after. I thought you guys were probably about wrapping it up, I hope. So sorry if I started before you were done. Hey, Bobby, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Bobby Parnell, I hope you're doing all right. I think you've been away for a bit, but hopefully it's just been because you're busy. John Post, good to see you. Barbara Shenanigans, hey, Mike. Everwing, always good. Yeah, I know it's late for you, man. It's been a long day, and but we'll keep it going. George Kaplan, always good to see you too. Richie and Santa Cruz, and I think Samuel Cast will be dropping by here shortly. He usually makes his rounds, and we'll get into that. So let's start with something that my friend Generously Paul, him Lee G, also known as the Whiskey Whisperer, now on Twitter. And Prene, who is up in New Jersey, and another guy named Scott Evolved. We'll call him, I'm sorry, not Scott Evolved, Scott E. We'll just call him Scott E. We've been hitting all the distilleries in Scotland over the last year, off and on, and we've arrived at one called Glentauchers. Glentauchers is a interesting distillery from my experience so far. This offering is a 7-year from Battlehill. It's a independent bottling you'll see a lot, actually. I've had a few. I've had one great one, and I've had a couple not so great ones. So we'll get into that. It's a series from Duncan Taylor. Most likely non-chill filtered natural color on this guy. It is very light. There's nothing, out of scope on this, I would say, for a 7-year. Maybe, I don't know. It's a nice, just a real regular straw color. But talking about this particular distillery, let me move over here and see some notes for the. They don't really have any cask information specifically. I'm not really familiar with Glentauchers other than it's a Speyside, and so you're thinking going into this is going to be like a sweet, Highland-esque, sweet on the sweet end, fruit-based, maybe sherry, those kind of notes. A typical space side, you would think, but this is not what that is. So I'll go through and give you guys some of what I've got on this, and I've let it sit out for it's been 15 minutes. I'm going to be doing the Octomore 6.1 here in a second, and I've also got the Laphroaig Brodir port finish. It's a travel retail exclusive, 48%. It's courtesy of Lee G. And that is going to be one of my favorites. I have a feeling, but we'll cross that bridge later. Let's stick to this guy. And what kills me is that I'll know right off the nose, right off the initial nose, if this is going to be a pleasant experience or not. And unfortunately, as soon as you approach this guy, you get sawdust. And now, usually, if I get sawdust or real flaky, woody notes that are not like not a refined, not more of a woody oak, or something like you would get from a bourbon cask, something like that, I know it's going to remind me of a grain whiskey, and that's just not my cup of tea. I'm not a grain fan. I've tried Gravon. I've tried what is it? I haven't tried Inchgour yet, but that is on my to-do list. That'll be next. But Invergordon, some you would think would be really good grains, and unless they're like 30 to 40 years old, I just don't really get into them. And this is the Invergordon 9 was, I think, another Battlehill offering, and so maybe it's, I don't know. I mean, this is not a grain. This is a Speyside single malt Scotch. So I'm surprised I'm getting those kind of notes from it. But when you're digging a little deeper, you do get some citrus, some lemon and orange. But you really have to dig deep on this. And the weird thing is, this is 56%. 56. This is like beyond what some cask strengths usually come in at. But this is not labeled as a cask strength. It blows my mind that it's so hot. You don't get the hotness on the nose, though, which is another kind of a strange thing. You do get, your subtle woody sawdust. You get your subtle floral notes, your, citrus stuff, but, there's nothing in there that's grabbing you that says, here, come taste, what I got. So that is kind of scary to me, but we'll try it anyway, because sometimes you approach a Drammen, it deceives you on the nose. You get a great palate. So with this, it's extremely hot because it is 56, but it's not overpowering, like, oh my gosh, I can't drink it neat. It's drinkable. I mean, there is some really nice honey and vanilla up front, kind of reminiscent of what you would get on a bourbon, even more on the honey side than the vanilla. You think there's something else is coming. Give me something else. And the only thing you can really get out of this is maybe a mineral, like a real subtle minerally note on the end. And it just was kind of, not too appealing. So I thought, well, I'll give it more time. I'll give it some water, which, is expected from a 56%. We'll give it its just due and see, a couple drops. We'll start off light and see if that'll be enough to maybe wake it up a little bit. And I'm getting a similar experience on the first time. The honey's coming through a little bit more, I think, with oxidation, though, which is pleasant, but honey is not going to save a whiskey, unfortunately. And the sad thing is, it takes the honey away, and it puts more of that mineral-esque note in the back. It's trying to think of let me see if I talked about the finish before. I really didn't go into it, sadly. It's there. It's very dry. which isn't always bad when you don't have the best experience. Sometimes you do want it to end on a dry note. But that mineral note that is with the dryness is kind of a little, I won't say off-putting, but it kind of is to me. It's not my cup of tea. You know, in subjectives, I think Paul actually liked this one. He gave it 3 stars out of 5, 3.5. He actually he enjoyed it. Let me see what Lee G thought about it. He gave it a 2 out of 5. More, Prene gave it a 1. He was not happy. After my experience, I decided to give it a 1.5. It wasn't, undrinkable, which would be below a 1, or 1 or below would be undrinkable. At the Grovana, I actually gave it 1. It was that bad. I couldn't drink it. I think the Evergordon 9 Battlehill, or might have been the 7. I think it was a 9. Battlehill was also like a 1, 1.5 area deal. I just wish that honey came through a little more, or something else to get rid of that mineral note, or the water. I hope would open it up, or time in the bottle. If I let it sit there for half hour, that it would give it, get that mineral note out. But it just remains, no matter what you do, how long you let it sit there. Just not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the citrus comes through after a little bit, but I think I'm still going to give it maybe a 1.5, maybe a 1.75, because I actually get more citrus and honey, a little bit out of it, but it's not near as good as another offering to keep your eye out for. I did enjoy the Fettercairn, Fettercairn, same Battlehill independent bottling, same 7-year age statement. Much better experience. It had a really nice honey forwardness to it, with some really good the vanilla with a cream, like a custard type of background. Smoother, tastier, and it definitely more. I'm not sure if Fettercairn off the top of my head is another space side. Let's take a look. I think it might be, but I don't want to say that and end up being a Highland or something. I just want to see what it. Looking at here, it looks like it is a Highland, so it tastes more like a space side than this guy does, which is kind of funny how that works sometimes. But they are. I consider Highland and space side sisters to related brothers to each other in a way, because they're so close. Usually the space side has more of a sweetness fruit kind of thing going on, but I think it also depends on the quality of what you're getting. Did I get that Battlehill from Total Wine? I didn't personally get these, Richie. This came from 2 different friends. The Glentauchers came from my friend Generously Paul, and the other one, the Fettercairn, came from my friend Tosh. I think he pronounced his last name Nos. It's Dhnoss. He's originally from Tibet, so I might be butchering the pronunciation of that, but they actually got it, and I'm not sure if they picked it up from Total Wine or not. But it's a definite I shouldn't say definite possibility. It's an oxymoron, but you know what I mean. It's a possibility that they got it from there. I'm not sure where Tosh gets a lot of his bottles from. He's here locally in near DC, so there is a lot of Total Wine. There's one in Laurel, Maryland here, and a couple other ones, so he might have picked it up that way. But let's move on. That was, I just wanted to go over something that wasn't my wheelhouse, and something I didn't necessarily enjoy. A lot of the times I do go outside my wheelhouse, and I'll pick up like a Glenmorangie, the Benriach, Tomatin, Glendronach, even. I would consider, well, I do like a sherry, but some of the, like Longmorn, some of those wouldn't be technically something I would normally go after. I have great experiences by a lot of those distilleries. So it's sometimes it's hit or miss. You never know what you're going to get. Hey, Mom, thanks for stopping by. I just glanced over and saw you in the chat there. Hope everything's going well. Glad you finally got to catch it live this evening. Okay, now we've got two peated whiskeys to go. One being the powerhouse, I would consider the Octomore 6.1, 57%. This guy took me forever to get the damn top off, so I'm putting it back on. I'm not gonna. Wow, it's already, not sure what they put on this damn thing. It might be glue, but it's got a nice rigid inside. Kind of strange, but I'm not gonna push it all the way down because it took me like a 20 minutes and an injury to get the damn thing apart. And then the sad thing is, once I finally got the bottle out, the just getting the damn the pilly off deal to get the cork out, that was a pain in the ass too. It was like I gotta bleed to get this bottle open. It's that sad. I never had to do that before until now, so that's funny. But yeah, we'll look at I think we'll do that last though. It's such a oh man, it's such a nice, strong peated whiskey. Let's go next with the Laphroaig Brodir. And that, let's get rid of this guy here. Thanks though for the try, Paul. It was worth the adventure, and at least now I know what their version of Glentauchers is like. I've heard Ralphie do a Glentauchers and actually enjoyed it. So I'm going to try another offering. Hopefully I can get either a distillery bottle or maybe some other independent bottling altogether, maybe a little more aged, and see what I think about that. Because I think Ralphie liked that distillery a lot. Surprisingly, I so far not my cup of tea. Anyway, the Laphroaig, Laphroaig is one of my favorites. Recently, my wife surprised me with she found this deal where Laphroaig was actually in town. The head of the DC metro area was putting this get together where you get on the sailboat, you go out on the Chesapeake Bay in Maryland. We went out, started out with the Laphroaig 10, just kind of a surprise tasting. Went and got the Bowmore 10 Doris Moore, which is one of my favorites. That's Bowmore is one of their sister distilleries as well that Beam Centauri runs, and had a good experience. But I was aware of that dram, so I've actually reviewed it before. And then on the way back, they advertised it as being a Carriages experience. So I'm like all excited. I think I'm going to get the new Pheno cast, 2018 Carriages that's supposed to be released now. And he said it's sitting on a boat at the time that this happened. And I think recently they must have got the boat through, because I know my friend in New Jersey just bought a bottle of it. But instead they gave us the lure, which is not bad because that's, $130 bottle versus a $90. So I'm not going to complain. But I still haven't had my Pheno cast Carriages yet. That's on my radar. But anyway, it was really fun. Went back to Dry 85, which is a speakeasy in Maryland, and had a good dinner. And they made some Laphroaig cocktails, which I thought was strange. I didn't know that people would even think about putting Laphroaig in a cocktail. They actually made a couple. My wife liked one of them. It was called a Smoking Kiss, and it had Laphroaig and some chocolate. It had like something else to balance it off with. The other drink was more my kind of cup of tea. It was more of a fruit-based drink. It had the Laphroaig, but it had some cranberry. But still, I'd rather have it neat. I'm not a cocktail guy, but it was interesting to see what they would do with Laphroaig as a cocktail. It's kind of interesting. But anyway, let's talk about this Brodir. Now, the Brodir port finish. This is a travel retail exclusive, 48%. This was the aftermath of the original port wine Carriages from 2013. I do not have that bottle. I've had the 2015. I've got the 2014, the 2016, 2017 up there, which are all different casks. But the original port wine series came from the Carriages 2013. After that, did really well, and it is one of the most sought-after bottles of Laphroaig that you can possibly get. They did 2 batches so far of this that I'm aware of. The first batch of Brodir is extremely hard to find. It's very sought after. Some people think it does taste a lot different than the second batch, which is what this is from. But some people think it's just as good if not different than the original batch. Unfortunately, I have not had the original port wine or the first Brodir batch, but I can tell you if it's going to be good or not. Laphroaig port finish, it's intriguing as long as it's not super dry like a Fino. I mean, I do like a Fino if it's done right with peated whiskey, but I've only had that in an Ardbeg since, so it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. The cool thing is this is extremely dark, and I don't think that this is colored. Laphroaig is good about not coloring, not chill filtering. Let's take a look and make sure that I'm not missing anything off the other than the port. If there's any secret cask stuff being done with this guy. Travel Retail exclusive. It's ex-bourbon and ex-ruby port specifically. So we're dealing with ruby port, which for me I think is going to be better than Fino because it's not as dry. So that's going to be cool for me, I think. It's just my personal preference. John Campbell's experimentation with cask finishing alongside the Laphroaig QA cask, which is New American Oak, the quarter cask reshaped ex-bourbon, the PX cask, the Pedro Jimenez sherry, and the Octomore European Oak. The Brodir, meaning brother in Norse, celebrates Isla's connection to the Norwegian peninsula. Primarily aged in ex-bourbon, the whiskey is finished in ruby port seasoned cask before being bottled at 48%, not currently available in the United States. So, thank you, Mr. Lee. You're one of the best, my friend. This is I'd have to, I'm sure, pay a lot to have this shipped over to find it and to have find someone that would be willing to ship over here. So I really appreciate it. I'm a huge Laphroaig fan. Not a fan of Select, so I don't like them all. The Select was a letdown for me. Triplewood, I have to be in the mood for it. So they're not all perfect, but let's see what we got with this guy. It's been sitting out for quite a while. We'll go in neat. 48 should be pretty perfect. Oh, nice. Campfire right away. And you do thankfully get the fruit, the grapes, plums. We're talking sweetness, though. We're talking Concord for Northerners. I think that's how they say it up there. Rob, if he's still around, he might be able to tell me. Bobby says he just ordered the Benreich 17 Septendissime. Have you had a chance to sample? I really enjoyed the Curiositas. So I have high hopes for this. I have not tried those two, actually. The only Benreich I've had, well, the only Benreichs I've had, let me think. I had a peated Benreich, which I did like. I've had the regular 10, which I did enjoy. I might have had that 7th, actually. I think I had that at a Whiskey Expo the last time in Indiana. From my memory, I did enjoy it. I have not had a Benreich that I did not like. I will say that. So far, I've only had a few, though. But I've heard the Solstice is another one to keep your eye out for. It's a 16-year. The Scotch for Dummies definitely cry for any chance to get a chance to get that, you know. Let's see. Richie C says, are there any Laphroaig indies out there? There are. There's not many, though. They don't have a whole lot. I've seen Creative Whiskey Company, which is excellent. Anytime you see CWC out there, my friends, you've got to get it. It's always going to be good. I've never been disappointed by CWC, also known as Creative Whiskey Company. This guy, David, oh man, what is his name? I can't remember. There's one guy that's really involved with it. He does 600 bottles, just a one-off. He'll pick some, cask he likes from Lagavulin. It'll be a cask strength. It'll be 8-year. He'll throw it in there, and it'll be just glorious. It's interesting. Concord. Yeah, I can't remember if you guys pronounce it Concord or Concord up there, but Concord grapes, basically. I say Concord, but I thought Northerners said Concord or something like that, but I don't know. Yeah, Campfire Lady, sing your song. That's right, man. Nice deep fruit balance with that, but the nose isn't bad. It's just not as peat forward as I expected, but there's a lot of fruit going on. The smoke is there though. I think it's more smoky than peated, and for me on a Laphroaig, that's surprising. Get some dark chocolate in there too, deep. Huh. Some raisins. The Concord grapes, I guess, after time, start getting a little dry. Not bad though. I didn't talk about the mouth coat of the last dram I had. The reason I say that is because this one's got a really nice medium one. Last one was a thin mouth coat too, which really drives me crazy. I'm not a fan of the thin mouth coat. To me, it's got to be at least medium. And I actually enjoy a heavy. A Kleinlich 14 is right up my alley. I like that. But this is a nice medium. Mm. The bacon and the chocolate come through more on the palate than on the nose. Wow, that's so perfect. The grapes are still there. Definitely more of your purple Concord, not your red or white. Heavy, not as in like filling, but heavy as in strong, nice flavors. Really nice finish too. Wow. Laphroaig, I tell you, man, you guys never disappoint hardly. The Select is a different story. Maybe that triple would, but man, this stuff is glorious. Just when I think, I mean, I enjoyed the Springbank port cask I had, the 19-year, but I like this better. And this is not even an age statement, which is really crazy. But sometimes peated whiskeys from Islay do better at a younger age. It's just the way it is. I know some people don't, like that sometimes. They have to have refinement more in their age to have respect. But I tell you what, if you're going for just pure taste, sometimes you don't need 12 years to get that really nice taste out of it. Just the way it is. Mm. Mom says, Jason, noticed that the indie tasting is October the 5th. I think you're talking about the indie one that I went to from last year. This year is October the 5th. Okay. I was going to see if that's a possibility. I was going to see if Dave might be up for maybe a New York trip this year, but I have to look in to see the times and when it is and the cost and all that. But India is a lot closer, I know, for all of us, and probably a lot easier logistically to get to. It's just I'm not sure if the Scotch for Dummies are going to be there this year. I have to see. VIP tickets are only $150. That's pretty cheap comparatively. I don't think they were. I think they were a lot more. They're like $300 last year, from what I remember. Maybe at least $250. I have to go back and look. Surprised at how low that is, unless they just didn't have much of a turnout, maybe. But this is nice, guys. And I'm not just saying that as a Laphroaig fan. I'll definitely tell you if it's weak, if it's thin, if it doesn't have the nose, if it doesn't have the palate, if it doesn't have the finish. But man, this is nice. Mm. The finish is really intriguing because it's really intense. It's got a darkness to it, almost like a really nice. Trying to think like a compote, trying to think of what fruit that is with the chocolate. It's not raspberry. It's more of like a plum compote with dark chocolate. Really, really nice. Damn. And the funny thing is, if the batch one is better than this, I can't imagine that And if the port wine Carriages from 2013 is better than both of them, then Jesus Christ, I got to find me some of that. Oh, the Octomore versus Brodir. Oh, man, geez, man, you're going to put me on the spot, my friend. That is a damn good bottle, too. But totally different. Octomore is more of a peanut brittle, really nice nuttiness, caramelization, toffee, those kind of flavors. It's just so different. They're both intense. What's the ABV? Let's see what that ABV is in this guy. 48 as well. Man, they're both 48, which is my sweet spot. You don't have to touch it with anything. It's out of the gate gorgeous. Damn. This is the way I would say. To me, I like them both equally as good on a really high level, but it would depend on the mood. If I'm looking for that peanut brittle, cashew, peanuts, caramelization, caramel corn, crunch and munch, that kind of mixed with peat smoke, then I'm going to go for the Octomore, no questions asked. But if I'm wanting a heavy fruit, plums and prunes and raisins and Concord grapes and just great dark fruit with chocolate and more sweetness and really heavy smoke. The peat doesn't show itself here, but it's not needed. It's more of a smokiness. It's hard to explain, but it is damn good. Oh man, I hate to say it, but they're equally as good for different tastes altogether. I don't want to, if you ask me about these two versus the PX cask, I would definitely say I think I like both of these better than the PX cask, because the PX cask is great, but it's more just a straightforward like strawberry sweetness. Where the Cube cask is great, but it's just more of a forward vanilla sweetness. These are more like complex flavors. They're just on a different spectrum. But if you're going for age, of course, then you're going to go for the 18 or the lower. It just all depends on your mood. But all those four bottles, are all fantastic. At least 4 stars, if not higher. I think I gave the Octomore like 4.5. This one is tied with it. I don't think it's any more complex, any better. It's not refined more. Because there's no age statement, it's hard to detect what that's going to be. It's probably around 7. I'm thinking 7 to 8 years old. It could have bits of course, of old stuff in it, like Lore does, but it's definitely on my upper echelon of bottles. Man, I got to get myself a Brodir. It's definitely going to be on my radar now. Oh man, I'm gonna run out of room in my Laphroaig area. I'm gonna have to like knock Bowmore out, maybe Kalila out, and just start expanding my Ardbeg and my Laphroaig everywhere. They're that good. Bunnahabhain's up there too, in Springbank, Kilchoman. They'll always have love for Kilchoman, but Kalila and Bowmore are kind of on my. They're not hanging with those other guys. The big boys are, these 4 and the Kilchoman. Those are the big boys, but the Kalila and Bowmore is just kind of. I'm thinking that maybe if I get the Kalila Distillers Edition, I might be wowed. I've heard it's really good. For Bowmore, I heard the Devil's Cask is great, but it's like $300 or $400. It's crazy money. There's no way I'm going to just go out and buy that. So, Bowmore's a tricky one because they have a lot to offer for taste, but they're so thin on their mouth coats. They're, when I first had the 15, it blew me away, but after a year and coming back to it, I wasn't wowed as much. When I had the 18, it's a good dram. It's, 3.75, 4-star dram, but it's not like Highland Park 18 kind of wow. It's not Laphroaig 18 kind of wow. It's not Ardbeg 23 or any of those kind of wow factor deals. So October 6th, Nashville Whiskey Fix. Ooh, okay. That's interesting. Nashville would be fun. I wonder, hopefully they just don't have bourbon there. Mom, look and see if they have a lot of scotch, because you know how, I mean, I'm not a corn drinker, so. Bobby Purnell says a whiskey that can really get interesting at times when the peat is sort of bashful about expressing itself. I'm sorry, exposing itself. You get some subtle, real subtle and beautiful flavors. It's true. It's really true. And this is kind of like that. I think it's, it's more in the background as a supporting guest. It lets the fruit, it lets the chocolate, it lets all the flavor speak for it, and it gives you the peat smoke in the sides in stereo, and that's what you really. I think I found my song for this dram. It's going to be Moving in Stereo by the Cars. That's such a great damn song. I had that in my head as soon as he had me talking about the notes you get. I'll have to, it's Tennessee Corntown, and they're spelling it with an E. Oh, no. Yeah, we don't do E's here, Mom. I'm a no E drinker. Maybe. We'll see. Well, logistically, we'll have to work something out. I'm sure Dave probably has a set schedule he has to abide by, but we'll figure out something. Lee, gee, you are one of my favorites, man. This is right up our alley. I'm so glad we have similar palates and can respect a dram like this. Wow. Bacon's still there. Great finish. 4.5 without a doubt. No, even have to think about it. It's that damn good. All right, we had to have a palate cleanser before we even think about touching this Octomore, and it's going to be badass. I have a feeling. Well, it can't be guaranteed to know the difference. That's true. We'll have to see. Oh, Louise from the Bay Area in San Francisco, I take it. What you guys drinking tonight? I'm just curious. Let me know in the comments in the chat what you guys are drinking. Let's see. We're gonna wait on the water on this guy. Didn't need it for the Brodir, and Lee will be happy that I didn't touch it with water. I'm sure on that one. But we are gonna have a little sip on the side here. I hate to kill that finish because the finish is still going on that, but if you want to touch this Octomore, I don't want to taint it. That is some good stuff, though. Fresh margarita. Ooh. Never say never, Telex. Yeah, I hear you there. We should have a beer or dram sometime. Yeah, you and Louis should hook up if you guys are in California. Dram Dude's from, I think, the same area. I'm not sure if he came over from the Scotch for Dummies tonight, but Dram Dude is from, I think, the San Francisco area as well, but don't quote me on it. I know he's California, but I can't remember which city it is. Oh, my. Sorry about that. We had to take a little break. I'd get up way too early. Ooh, 3 a.m. That is early, man. My goodness, that's crazy. I'm glad you can still work a dram in there, man. Let's see. All right, let's talk about the 6.1. Now, on a historic level, for myself, I have had a couple offerings from Octomore. The ones I've had are the 7.1, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I do like a lot of peat. I do like intense flavors, and that one did not disappoint. And it's funny because I was reading the other day, I forgot who it was. I probably wouldn't even use their name anyway, but they were describing the Octomores as like the 0.1s as being like an entry level, the 0.2s as being like a cask influence, and then the 0.3 as being like their best. And I'm like, I don't see that the same way because I love the 7.1. I despise the 7.3. The reason being is because that Ribera del Duero cast they used on it, it was like a durian fruit. It was horrible. If you don't like durian fruit, and some of you guys that travel know exactly what I'm talking about, it's extremely pungent. It's, I don't mind assertive, but assertive in that kind of way is just not my thing. I could not drink it, and I actually gave it to my friend Lee G. It was that bad. But the 7.1, it's glorious. It's beautiful. I wouldn't touch it with anything. Maybe a couple drops of water. Don't tell Lee. And that's it. So I thought when I saw this recently, I was like, 6.1, that's an old one. I'm surprised they still had it. It was one bottle left. And I thought, I got to snag this. It's under $200. And for an Octomore, that's pretty hard to find because the 7.3 usually runs like 225. The other one, the twos and the ones, I think are a little less, but still around 150, something like that. I was like, you can't beat that for an Octomore. Those are hard to find, number one. Number two, they're, you know, pretty strong with flavor and very respectable. This does have an age statement of 5 years on it. I'm surprised it's 6.1. I thought it was going to be 6 years, but it's 5 years. The parts per million ppm for you guys that are interested is 167. That is on the very high end. I think like Ardbeg's around like a 40 something, as is Laphroaig is probably around a 30 something. I think Ardbeg's probably a little bit peatier, or it might be vice versa. I can't remember which one's which, but they're around 30 to 40. We're talking 167 here in parts per million. So we're not talking about something that's going to be bashful. It's going to be strong in your face, 57%. It's going to be interesting. Richie Z asked if I ever given a 5 rating. I have. The only Scotch so far that's deserved a perfect 5 rating. Well, there's 2 actually. I'll say there's 2. Out of everything you see here, I don't own a bottle of either one, of course, because we're talking some crazy money. I was thankful to Lee G to let me have a sample of the Ardbeg 23. It's also known as Ardbeg 20-something. That is a 5-star bottle. I would not change anything about it. I can't make it any better. It's got everything. It's got, I think it's got some sherry. It's got the bourbon. It's got the strength. It's got the age. It's got refinement. It's got the Ardbeg quality. It's peated. It's, I mean, damn, you know, just thinking about it makes me want to have a drink of it. And I do have some over here that I will be doing a review on later on. I've been saving it for a special occasion, but I'm going to have to just turn out and do a review on it. The only other one I think that I would ever give a 5-star, not change anything review on, is the Macallan Rare Cask Black Edition. It has to be the black. I do have the Rare Cask Regular over here. Haven't reviewed yet. That I've heard is different. It doesn't have the smokiness that the black has, and that's a Travel Retail exclusive. It was from my friend Generously Paul, and that one I would not change a thing about it. It is refined, even though there's not an age statement, which is really bizarre. But the Rare Cask Black by Macallan is pricey as hell, I'm sure. I think both those bottles run around $500, but you know, I don't try to think about the price when it comes to evaluating a whiskey. Same thing I did with the Highland Park 25. Is it better than the 18? Yes. It's got tropical notes that the 18 doesn't have. Is it worth the money difference between the 18 and the 25? To me personally, no. But is it a better taste? Yes. That's how I'll kind of try to look at things when it comes to that, deal. Supposed to be a whiskey extravaganza in DC in October. 2018 in DC. October dates unconfirmed. Previous location. Oh, well, that's weird. They just did one. I tell you what, and I'll talk to Dave about this, Mom. But the Whiskey Expo in DC was not as good as the one in Indianapolis, and I can go into detail on all the things that I wasn't impressed with. I don't know if I'll ever do that particular thing again, unless Dave wants to go to a particular one because of a certain reason. I think I would rather try to get in touch with Lee, Paul, maybe Praney or Scott or some of these other guys like Bobby, Louise, whoever's around that doesn't mind traveling. Pick a city, meet up, and actually just share bottles. We actually had better bottles than a lot of the people at the expo had, believe it or not. They have the pouring menu already printed for Indy. Wow, that's surprising. I'll have to take a look at that. We'll talk about that and see if it's worth going for both of us on that one. Yeah, the list that Laphroaig said they were going to have at the DC Expo, let's just say they didn't bring half the stuff they were supposed to, and that really let a lot of us down, and they weren't the only ones that did that kind of stuff. So that was a bit different than the, you know, the Indy one I thought was a little better. That's cool, Bobby. Yeah, I think you're in if I remember, you're in Dallas, Texas, or something. I'm sure we can try to figure out logistically like a halfway point or something to meet up. Or if you ever had like a city in particular you wanted to go, if we all brought 4 or 5 bottles, we could probably figure out what to where to go or something. We'll see how that goes. Maybe meanies. Who's a meanie? Oh, the Laphroaig people. Yeah, I was pissed. That's a whole nother story. The Richie says the 23 Ardbeg sounds like a unicorn. Yeah, for me it's a unicorn because there's no way I'm going to shell out that kind of money for the bottle. But as far as like if you want a perfect whiskey that you won't change anything, that if you're a Pete fan like I am, that's going to be one of those. Cheaper if you can find it. The Laphroaig 18 is another one that I thought was pretty damn perfect, pretty close, maybe a 4.5. The only thing I probably would change maybe with that is maybe make it a little more stronger tasting. The Ardbeg 23 not only has the refinement, it has the strength of the flavor. The 18 it seems even more refined than you would think as an 18 would be. It tastes like a 30-year-old. It's kind of crazy how it works. But that's a whole other thing. Bobby says near Dallas, but I'm mostly retired, so traveling except during Aggie football season is never a problem. Well, that's cool. Well, I'm sure we'll work something out. What maybe excuse me, maybe I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. I'll have to create some sort of list to maybe capture where people are, where they like to go. Do like some sort of a poll maybe. Oh man, I do have a Facebook page, Telex the Whisky Tech. I haven't been updating the videos on it because it's hard just to keep up with this plus distiller and all that. But what I might do is ask you guys to follow me on the Facebook page. I could create a poll, I think, there and see where's the best place to try to meet up to satisfy the people that would be willing to actually do it. And bring 3 bottles, 4 if you can afford to do it. And if we've got 4 or 5 people right there, that's worth, I think, every bit of it. Because when I did it with just those two, Paul and Lee, they had stuff that I didn't have, but I also had stuff, even though it might not have been as expensive as what they had, I could find stuff that they couldn't normally find, maybe, or I don't know, maybe they were just being generous, but we could work something out and try to make it as equal as possible on that. I don't mind traveling a little farther if it makes it more fair, that kind of thing. So we'll have to see how that goes. Anyway, I've been talking all night. It's already almost 12, so let's hit the old Octomore here. Color isn't that dark, but I'm sure that's natural. We're only talking 5 years, so we're not talking crazy age. But with Pete, you do not need the age to make it great, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. It's not true. If you want those refined qualities, yes, but if you're looking for just a nice, balanced, peaty bottle with great flavor, 5, 4, it'll do it. Wow. I mean, of course, just talking about the 167 makes you want to, like, your nose hairs kind of cringe, but it's definitely nice on the nose. It's strong, it's forward. Get some fruit in there as well, lemon. You can smell the sweetness a little bit, the vanilla. More powdered sugar. I'd say. Get some floral qualities also on the side. Let me see if there's any. I know it's a Scottish barley presentation, but let me see if there's any special notes on the cask type. I don't think there are. 5 years before being bottled at hefty 57%. Named after the Octomore farm situated on a hill aboard Port Charlotte on Islay. This whiskey pushes the boundaries of how Scotch whiskey is traditionally made, which is true. 100% malted barley, and don't think there's a lot more to it. I mean, it's I want to say, if you, it sounds crazy because you normally can't really smell marshmallows, but there's like a marshmallow note in there. Getting like a s'mores kind of a thing. But it's bright. It's vibrant, you know. You can tell it's young. It's not, you know. That's right. See you, Mom. Glad you stopped by. Whoa, that's different. Wow. That kind of puts you off guard a little bit in a good way. Wow. A lot different, thankfully, than the 7.1. I was surprised. Because, you know, when you get into bottles like this and you've had the 7.1, you've had the 7.3, when you go into these older ones or even newer ones, like they have an 8.1, 2, and 3, they have an XO, they have a ton of different Octomore offerings, all the way back to 1.1, which I would kill for. I give my left testicle to have a drink of that 1.1 if I could find it. Anyway, the flavor is completely different. The palate is fruit forward, surprisingly, but the peat is a nice balance with it, where it's not too fruity. It's not a Highland. It's not a Speyside taste at all. It's definitely an Islay, but smooth. Really nice grape and pear. Light citrus fruit, like really light fruit. I should just say citrus. It's also got like some really yellow, those golden delicious apples. Peat's definitely more forward than the fruit, but it's really nice balance with that. Really nice mouthfeel. Definitely, I would say medium to heavy. This is all neat. A little bit of bacon, but it's less bacon, more apple with it. A little bit of pastry. The vanilla's coming through in the finish. The peat smoke's still there. Not very smoky, definitely peaty. This is a peat forward dram. Smoke's there, but it's really subtle, really on the back end. Wow, it's a really nice mouthful of peat, though. I'm a fan. I'm leaning, I think, more towards the. I've also had the 7.2 Shiraz, the French Syrah, I should say. French Syrah 7.2 was a donation by Generously Paul, and that one was superb. That was probably my favorite. So I think I leaned more towards the 0.2s than the 1s or the 3s. So with this series, the 6.1, I would love to get the 6.2 to see what they did taking this and putting it into a specialized cask. If the cask, you know, I'm a fan of it. I would love to taste that one because this is definitely at my alley. Ah, I like it. I'm gonna have to put a little bit of water on this. Don't tell Lee. Yeah, there's an 8.4 out now. You're right, Richie. There's also, I think, an XO or some sort of a 10-year statement from Octomore that recently got released. Uh, check that out and see. I think I'm on to something, and I'm right maybe about the. I can't remember if it's 8 or 10 year. Is it XO maybe? I saw an XO release. Do you have any mini Ololan bottles? Ones I'm trying to get slowly into. Yeah, the only ones that stick out for Lowlands that I remember, and please forgive me if I'm off on this, the two distilleries that I've actually enjoyed sort of somewhat were Akatoshin and Glenkinchie. Glenkinchie 12 is an okay bottle, but to me, it's better if it's blended with something else to give it a little more oomph to it. It's a floral type of bottle. It's very delicate. I prefer the Dalwhinnie 15 to the Glenkinchie 12 because the Dalwhinnie 15 has a little more oomph to it. I'm not sure if it's because of the age or if it's just because of the distillery, but the taste just to me is better. I don't think Dalwhinnie's a Lowland though, but Akatoshin is a Lowland, I'm pretty sure. Let me make sure I'm not messing this up. And I love well, I shouldn't say love, but I like the American oak and the American oak and the 3 wood that I've had from them have been good. Yeah, those are Lowlands as well. The two that I've had from Alcatoshan, that one I have not tried, but I've heard was not that impressive, was the bartender's malt. Be careful about the bartender's malt. I've heard that one's kind of iffy. The one I've had personally that I did not really like was the independent bottling of Akatoshin 21. That was a sample from a friend, and it was by I want to say Alexander Murray. Let me verify that real fast before I tell you. No, it's Berries Akatoshin 21. That was not a good offering. But consider, Barry's does not have a great track record with me when it comes to offerings. I've yet to have a Barry's that's Brothers and Rudd offering that I've enjoyed. So is Akatoshin a good distillery? I've had a couple of drams I really like. Um, but I've also heard about the bartender's malt being kind of and that independent bottling was a big no-no. But so you have to be kind of careful, I think, with Akatoshin. They do have some older offerings that are like 18, 21. I'm sure they're pricey as hell, and I would probably consider going with a sample or an expo where you can try it before you shell out any money for any of the Lowlands, because they're so delicate and they're so faint to me that I'd have to like definitely try it. Whiskey Scout, good to see you, man. I don't know if I've seen you in a while. I've been quietly watching tonight, enjoying the live cast, but Sleep Monster is attacking. So good night. No problem, man. I appreciate you sticking it out and having fun with this. I'm about to wrap it up here in a little bit. No, Dalwhinnie I don't think is a lowland. I was just thinking of like a more faint inch, what you would get people into Scotch, starting out typically. Let me see what Dalwhinnie is. I think it might be a Highland, but yeah, Dalwhinnie is a Highland, but it's got properties of what I would consider with a lowland as far as like it's the 15 was stronger than I thought it would be, though. It's not as faint. Like a Glenkinchie 12, I thought was pretty faint. They had a distiller's edition of the Glenkinchie. I'd like to try it. I'm not sure if it's worth the money, though. So that's why I say look for an expo, look for a friend that's got a sample, and see, if it's worth throwing it out there. Barry Purnell says, I've got way too many tails. I've been trying to be good as well, not to open new bottles. Yeah, it is tough, man. It's like I try to also do the same thing where try to just have a few 5 tops in like open bottles. But when you do reviews, it makes it tough because you want to give some people a new perspective on some stuff, and it's hard to say no to a Laphroaig Brodir and a Octomore 6.1. That's for sure. Oh, I just love the Bruichladdich, man. You guys just do a hell of a job. I wish I got into Port Charlotte before they changed their bottling series recently. I've noticed that a lot of Port Charlotte bottles have changed. Hopefully, I can find some of those. Yeah, you're right, Richie. See, that's what I was saying. The Dalwhinnie 15 to me reminds me of a Lowland, but it's delicious. It's one of my favorite light scotches that I would consider more of on the light end. Not peated, not sherried, not really anything, but just a nice, good flavor. Hell, it's a hell of a lot better than a Glenmorangie 10 or a Glenfiddich 12. I think. I guess the age helps. I'm not sure what it is, but that one it is a really good summer sipper. It's I don't have a yacht, but if I had one, that's what I would be sipping on it. To be the Dalwhinnie 15. That's for sure. Oh man, you guys drink anything before we shut this off? Anything new? Anything interesting? I'm just curious. No, it's a Highland, H Highland. It's which makes sense. I mean, it is more towards a Glenmorangie or one of those Highland type distilleries, but it's got better flavor. It's not as faint, thankfully, as a lot of the, which surprised me because everyone talked about Dalwhinnie being really light and feathery and floral, but I thought it had a good taste. Richie Z says Bruichladdich has a new master distiller, which might explain the changes. Jim McGowan is gone. Ooh, that's not good because this 6.1 is an older offering, man. Oh man, I hope that the quality doesn't change. That would suck. Barbara Purnell says I have a independent bottling of Talisker 8 coming next week. Would be impossible not to open that. That's true. Love the young bold Taliskers. Ooh, 400th bottle of Talisker. I hope in my life. Bobby, man, you gotta let me know what independent. Okay, I'm gonna look this up because I gotta have me one of those. I love Talisker 10. I love Talisker 18. I love Talisker Storm. I love Talisker. So I gotta open an 8. An independent bottling would be interesting to see. I'll look and see see. Hopefully, it's the same one you've got. Do you remember the bottler? I'm just curious because I don't want to get the wrong one. Santa Cruz says great breakfast pictures. Richie C says I've been drinking Mount Gay Rum 1703. That's a higher ABV, right? The yeah, Bobby, let me know which independent bottling of that Talisker 8 you're thinking of. Hopefully, it's oh, the Old Particular. Good. I'll share something with you. Recently, Bobby Purnell, I'll give you a little heads up on something if you like the Old Particular. Really interesting to see how it compares to the official 8s I've had from the 1980s. Wow, man. You're lucky to have an 8 official from Talisker. That's badass. I like that. If you keep your eye out, I'm not sure if you've had this already. This was a good 3.5, 3.75 out of 5 dram. The Old Particular version of a Strathclyde. That's STRATHCLYDE, 11-year. This was fine business. This was good. Let me see if I can give you some notes that I had on that one. I recently did it for distiller.com. Let me look up my review. Strathclyde. Yeah, the 11-year. As a particular cask, 11952. Douglas Ling did it. 55.5 ABV, 11 years. I think all of us on our, yeah, everyone gave it good marks. I gave it a 3.5 rounded to 4 pretty much. Prene gave it a a 3. He's pretty critical. Lee gave it a 4, and Scott gave it a 4. And my notes particularly were the nose brings toffee, honey, vanilla, raisins, apples, and some soft sherry notes. For the palate, the sherry shows itself a bit more. Along flows some apple strudel, cinnamon, black pepper, and cream. A nice heavy mouth coat, but the finish is a little hot and dry. I do like that some walnuts linger on the finish, but it's not really bitter in the end. It's a good balance. A couple of drops of water helped it out. Excuse me. I gave it a pretty solid 3.5. So if you're into the old particular bottlings, look for the Strathclyde 11-year, Bobby. I think you'll be impressed. If not, you can blame me. But I don't think it's super expensive. Let me see what he spent, if he's got a price point on it. I think this was by Scott. Yeah. It was $81, which, it's not cheap, but it's not over 100 at least. He gave it an 87 out of 100 for his score. That's pretty darn good. His notes were, let me get to his notes because some of these guys like to talk a little bit when their reviews. The nose starts with a graininess and metallic mineral note similar to a Teeling single, apple crumble pie with confectionery sugar, vanilla, hay, with thyme, hints of sherry come through. The nose sweetens immensely with thyme, exposing butterscotch and honey, glazed pecans, and cola with a dash of nutmeg. The body is rich and thick and sticky sweet. Brown sugar, vanilla, maple syrup, buttercream sweetness in the mid palate that seems to hover for a moment and fades out. An edgy spiciness of ground nutmeg, cinnamon towards the back end and delivers to a finish. Finish is cinnamon and vanilla that extends and hangs indefinitely. A hint of oak and pecan are the dying notes. The 11-year is quite busy, wonderfully sweet, but not overly so, but more enough to satisfy the sweet tooth moments. The spice keeps a nice wild spirit that keeps the whiskey and palate alive, as with most patience is well rewarded. So for an 11-year, it's extremely complex. It's well balanced. That was my big push for it. And so I think, Bobby, if you're interested in trying another old particular, Strathclyde 11, my friend, I think would be up your alley. Yeah, mid-80s as well. Beats the hell out of the auction price for an old official 8. Yeah, I mean, that's the truth. When you find a good independent bottling, and if this old particular sounds like they do a good job, is you've had the old particular Talisker Unlighted. I've had the Strathclyde old particular Unlighted as these guys had. I think we should look out for some old particular bottles and see what we can get out of that. Which he asked, do you like peated or unpeated Kahlua or both equally? Oh, my friend, no. Oh, my. Okay, perfect example. I've had the Kahlua 12 many times. I love it. It's smoky goodness, great. It's a little young, yes, but it's it's a good drink. The Kahlua Moke, it's Gaelic for dawn. It's a little more vegetal and floral, but it's still good. It still has that nice peat smoke to really balance things out. And Kahlua smoke is such a particular thing that as soon as you taste it, you know where it's from. If you ever have a Portishead, for example, if you taste it, you know it's a Kahlua. That's really what it is, even though they don't call it a Kahlua. And some of the creative whiskey companies, not labeled or signatories, not labeled, they just say Isla. If you taste it, you can taste the smoke. It's definitely Kahlua smoke. It's one of a kind. You can't find it everywhere. The 17 unpeated was not a good dram for me. It's very, 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 very salty. It's got a huge amount of olive notes in it. It's extremely on the edge of sour bitterness compared to sweetness or any peat to balance it. I'm not a fan of unpeated Kahlilas at all so far. The 17 is the only one I've had. They have a 15 Now, would I go out and buy it now that I've had the 17 and did not like it at all at 117? It was the price I paid for it. The thankfully the 15 is about the same price, so I know where to get it, but I'm not going to pay that kind of money for an unpeated Kalila. It's just not. It's sacrilegious. It's like an unpeated Laphroaig. I just don't understand why you would do that. Ardbeg did it a long time ago in the 1980s with Kildalton. The 2014 Kildalton, the one with the cross, is peated. Thank God they came to their senses. Um, I've yet, other than Bunnahabhain can do it. Bunnahabhain is the only distillery in Islay. I haven't tried Ardnahoe yet or Gardbreck, the new distillery is coming. But Bunnahabhain is the only one that's allowed to do unpeated whiskey in Islay. Period. Bruichladdich, actually, on the side, the classic laddie is good, so Bruichladdich can do it too. So Bruichladdich and Bunnahabhain, those two are the only ones that I would touch with an unpeated whiskey. Kilchoman doesn't do unpeated, I don't think. I've never heard of them doing unpeated. Bowmore doesn't do unpeated, I don't think. Definitely Ardbeg hasn't done it for like a while, like I said. Laphroaig doesn't do it. Springbank's Campbelltown, that's a whole other thing. So I think that covers pretty much the entire Islay region, if I'm not mistaken. You know, the Kalila 17 I still have actually to show you. This is an old bottle. I still have a good, a good amount still left in it, which if I like something, it doesn't last too long on this bar. We'll just put it that way. And for me to still have, almost half a bottle, I'm trying to blend it with something to make it palatable. That's the pain of the Kalila 17. So there you have it. If you want more thorough information on reviews, please check out distiller.com. My name there is Telex, Telex, and you'll see I've done 200, I think, almost maybe one. How many reviews have I done? I've probably done a good, I know at least 100, if not like 150 or so. Let's take a quick look, just out of curiosity. 177. So I've done a lot of notes over time. So definitely take a look there and see. Richie Z is asking, is it like taking the balls out of a nice peated malt? It's not just that. It's like, I appreciate a good unpeated malt. Like Glenmorangie does it right. Like the La Santa, I love it. The Spios is a good rye type of drink. The Tussale is like a nice apple strudel kind of a drink. The one I just reviewed recently, the Astar, is a nice bourbon slash walnut nutty kind of a drink. The Kit de Bourbon is more of a hazelnut sweetness mix. I mean, they do it right. In Glendronach, if you have sherry to use, it really helps out. I like Ball Blair a lot. I like Lawnmower. I like Abelauer, the Abanon. Those are my go-tos. Of course, Highland Park doesn't really depend on peat. So it's not really the peat absence is the issue. It's more of just the gut juice of the 17. The refinement doesn't help. It doesn't taste like an aged scotch. It tastes like a salty, olivey, oily, medium coat mess. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. It doesn't really appeal that much to me. I know some people like the Kalila unpeateds, but not this guy, not me. I definitely will stick to the 12, the 18 peated, the Distilleries Edition. I'd love to get my hands on. The Moke is good. And I'm sure they have other ones out there, like a lot of independent bottlings of the Kalila are available. So that might be. I would like to get my hands like a cask strength Creative Whiskey Society, like a cask strength, maybe 12 or 8 year. That would be pretty kick-ass. If I could find that, that would be cool. But 17 unpeated or 15 unpeated, I would stay so far away from those. Your head would spin. Just not my cup of tea. But I would definitely, if you are offered it like a sample, if you see it at Expo, that's when you definitely have to take the chance of, you know, trying it out. Is the Kalila 12 qualify as classic Scotch? Yeah, I'd say it does. The classic 12 that's peated has that trademark smoke. They don't do it wrong. They do it justice. It's done well. I would put it up against, a Bunnahabhain 12, a Ardbeg 10, a Laphroaig 10, anybody's 10 or 12. I would put the Kalila 12 up against it. As its own thing. If I gave you those, if I gave you the Ardbeg 10, the Laphroaig 10, a Lagavulin 8, because they don't have a 10, unfortunately. All the 10, Springbank 10, and I gave you a Kalila 10 or 12, you would be able to pick it out, no questions asked, because it's that different than anybody else. So I think that you'd be impressed by the quality of what they produce. And that's the 12. They have an 18 that's aged that is really well done, I've heard. I would give anything to try the 18 next, maybe. I might put that on my radar as a good review, the Kalila 18 peated. I just don't get why they even bother with the unpeated thing unless it's, used for blending. I just don't get why. It just doesn't make sense to me, but, it is what it is, so. But I appreciate you guys sticking by and hanging out. Oh wow, I still have 11 people. That's awesome. The Yeah, I would definitely give the 12 or 18 a chance. Stay clear of the 15, 17. Try to find the Distillers Edition if you have a chance. Oh, good to see you, Whiskey Throttle. It's okay to be late having drinks with workmates. I know how that goes. You're in Moose Jaw, I think, which is in Alberta, so you're way earlier than we are. It's like 12:30 here, my friend. Unfortunately, I do have to telework tomorrow, so I have to. I don't have to go in, but I do have to work, so I have to be calling it a day here shortly. I'd rather just sit here and drink whiskey with you guys all night, to be honest with you, though, if I had a chance or a choice, actually. Mm. No problem, Richie. I try to give you a heads up on anything that I like and don't like. Um, on a side note, the only thing in Bunnahabhain I would stay clear of is the Kjalbanoch. Um, the Choichek is decent if you like peated, but the unpeated Bunnahabhains are the best. The 12, the 18, the Marsala, things like that. The Krokvona is peated. That's well done. It's got a nice taste. Aaron Grain is done pretty well. That's got a nice taste too. A red wine cask. I can't remember if it's peated or not, but Bunnahabhain does a really good job with most. But the Kjalbanoch was the only one I didn't really get down with. And I'd love to try their PX. I know they have a new PX cast that's out there. That would be really cool to try. But there's space there on the shelf. That's going to be filled in hopefully before long with some Bunnahabhains and I've been on a Springbank kick, but I don't know. I've been kind of getting more into my Laphroaigs and Ardbegs too, so it's kind of a dance I'm doing. But even though Macallan's not, they're pretty pricey. That's the only reason I don't do more of them. But if Macallan was a little more affordable, they do have a good, nice taste. That's something I'm kind of fighting with because I love the Rare Cask Black. It's such a good dram, and I will do the review of the Rare Cask soon, the regular one, see how that goes. And that's a good big thanks to Generously Paul on that one. Between Paul and Lee, those guys have really good taste, man. And of course Scott and Prene too, but it just seems like I gravitate more towards what those guys drink more so than anybody else that I've known. Thanks for the kudos there, Santa. Please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. Look forward to the next show, do the next live stream here and there. Yeah, I try to, man. It's not easy. I've got a 9-year-old daughter and a full-time job, and I like to do my radio thing on the side. I broadcast radio, not shows or anything, but I talk to people on. It's kind of like fishing for people over the airwaves. And of course, I do the Scotch reviews and stuff. But hey, Samuel, I had a feeling you were going to show up. It's all right, man. I'm glad you made it. Telling I was about to shut her down. You came in like right when I'm drinking the last bitty bit of my Octomore. I'm gonna have to pour me a little bit more. See how that goes. You can never have enough Octomore 6.1. This stuff is good. I'm so glad I got the last bottle of this stuff. Then the Mark Brodda's patented snifferoo. The extra lives, yeah. The what you drinking, Samuel? You still sipping anything? I'm just curious. There's something about this Octomore I really, really, really enjoy. I wish the 7.3 wasn't so bad. Then I would be, happy across the board. But to really dig their 7.1, 7.2, and 6.1, I think Octomores redeemed themselves in my eyes for my own personal palate. So that's a good thing. The sad thing is I never put any water on this. I was drinking the Octomore neat the whole time, which is kind of funny. I'm just going to put like a couple. Don't tell Lee G. He's probably like freaking out already that I even got the water dropper out. But with this guy, it can definitely take a couple drops. It's definitely not gonna kill it. Do you have a favorite Octomore out there? I'm just curious if there's one thing that if you had an older version, if you like the 7.1 or the 8 point something. I haven't had any 8 points out there. Ooh, he's sipping on a Springbank 12 cast strength. Very well done, my friend. I have a killed bottle up there that's been empty for quite a while. I need to replace that sometime. But that's a damn good bottle, especially if you can get it for about $100, 110, something like that. Hopefully, didn't have to pay much more than that on that guy. I'm not sure where you're from, Samuel Cass, but that's what it usually goes for here in Maryland. Oh yeah, the price on the Octomores, Richie, are pretty rough. But if you can find an older one that's a 0.1, you can get it for under 200 at least. I know some of the 7.2s and 3s are around 200 to 250, but if you can get a 0.1, I think you can get it for like 150. I know it is still really freaking high, but for what you're getting though, if you want this nice kickback, put in the closet, you only get it out for special occasions or for that special friend that knows Scotch that appreciates a good one. It's not a bad bottle that had just one, on the back end. 120 in Phoenix, yeah, that's a little high, but not terrible. It's kind of about $10 more than I would probably pay here, but I wouldn't bitch about that. That's not a bad price, I'd say. Hey, Stephen Connor, good to see you, man. Did you just join the chat? I guess I'm going to do an all-nighter here. Where are you from, Stephen? And what are you drinking tonight? And what do you like? What do you usually do? You like Isla's, Campbelltown, or do you more like a Highland Space side kind of guy? Favorite Octomore, easily the 6.3. Oh, Bobby, tell me what they used for the cask for that one. I'm curious. I mean, I can look it up, but I'd rather just have you tell me if you don't mind. And thanks for coming by, Stephen. Good to see you. Even if you're late to the party, it's never too late if we're still running, so that's always good. I'm just enjoying an Octomore 6.1 Scottish barley here. Had a Laphroaig Brodir port earlier, extremely good. Had a Glentauchers Battlehill 7, not so good. I would not recommend it. But Battlehill does do a good Fettercairn 7, really well done. So I would definitely look for that one if you're going to do a Battlehill. Keep it rolling for a few more minutes. Yeah, I figure what the hell. It's okay. Food Quick can do it, so why can't I, right? Oh my! If I was off tomorrow, guys, I'd be like, let's just let it roll. Who cares? Let's see if we can break the record. But unfortunately, I do have to do some work tomorrow, so I have to be kind of careful. But I can let it roll for a few more minutes. What is that 6.3, Bobby? Let me know. Because the 6.1 is excellent. The 6.2 is probably just badass too. And the 6.3, if that's your favorite, I might have to try it depending on the cask. Because man, that 7.3 was just so god awful. I just got to be careful about the cask that they use. Yeah, water doesn't kill it. Let's put a couple of drops on. Smooth as glass still. Mm. Really nice, really nice. Love it all. Had a few drinks with a friend tonight. Ardbeg Alligator Committee release? Are you kidding me, my friend? Holy blank. Glen Spey 21. That I gotta ask you about that because I've had a Glen Spey and we were not fans of it, but it was not a 21-year distillery. Was that a distillery bottle that you had, or was that a independent bottle of the Glen Spey 21? Just curious. The Bell Mead Bourbon Madeira at Nashville release only. That sounds interesting. Not a bourbon guy myself, but I can appreciate some of them that I've had are good. Oh, you're from Nashville. That's cool. Originally from Louisville, Kentucky. I live now in Severna Park, Maryland, which is near Annapolis, the capital. And sadly, you probably heard Annapolis being in the news lately with that crazy guy that was shooting people up at the Annapolis Gazette. And thoughts go out to those people. And it's just crazy when it hits close to home like that, or even if it's not close to home. There's people that freak out about it. I mean, this guy basically got pissed because the paper wrote a story about how he was, I think, mistreating a girl or an employee or something like that. And I'm just kind of like, this is just insane. That's a whole other story. This has the feet of your neighborhood tavern. Things tell us, oh, that's cool. No, that's the feel of a neighborhood tavern. Yeah, that's what I try to go for, man. Just to kick back and relax and have a good dram and talk the scoop. What's up, Santa Cruz? Cask is American oak, although it's unofficial because their official notes never identified it. Ooh, those are always interesting when it works that way. That must be the 6.3 you're talking about, American oak. Mm. So this 6.1 Scottish barley in an American oak, I bet is what they did because it's kind of like an evolution. 6.1, 6.2, 6.3 is their usually the final release unless they do a 0.4, which they did for the 8s. ppm is 258, but it doesn't punch you in the guts. It's sort of envelopes your entire mouth and holds it hostage. Interesting. Wow, man. Mm. That sounds damn good, Bobby. I gotta get me some of that. Richie Z asks if I like any blended scotches. Yeah. Um, Now the rail stuff, like your famous grouse and your what I would consider rail. No offense to the guys out there that work on that kind of stuff. I know, Johnny Walker and stuff. There's a niche for it. It's just not. It just doesn't wow me like a lot of stuff does. The black by Johnny Walker is a good, sipper, as is the double black. Haven't tried the blue because I'm never going to pay $100 for a blended scotch probably, unless it's Compass Box. Now that's the one that I've been intrigued by, as is equally Douglas Lang's. Got a few Timorous Beastie, Epicurus, something or other. Trying to remember the company. I think it's just called Douglas Lang. Has like a group of blended scotches that are like that. Those are the two that I like: Compass Box, Douglas Lang. Compass Box. I love the No Name. It's a great peated whiskey. It's got Ardbeg, Kalila, Dollywain, and Kleinleach in it, different amounts, and I can get into that later, but just look it up. You'll see the recipe. Thankfully, they're pretty transparent about what they put in their whiskey. Double Single didn't really do it for me, but the phenomenology is excellent. the trying to think of other compass boxes that just blew my mind. Great Glasgow was good for its price. It's not expensive, but it's really good. As is on the Douglas Lane, I had a Timorous Beastie, I think an 18-year, really well done. I had a Peat Monster. The Peat Monster by Compass Box is good. As is the Christmas Peat, the Big Peat. I forgot if Douglas Lane does that or somebody else. But the Christmas, the Big Peat was pretty good too. So yeah, I do like a lot of the blended stuff if it's done, well, not the low end blended stuff, but the higher end stuff I do like. I do appreciate it. Um, Steven says Glen Spey was a special Diageo release. Not bad, but not both bugs overpriced. Yeah. Yeah, the Glen Spey we had, I want to say it was, let me see if I can find it for you real fast to stay away from, man. It was kind of crazy. It was an independent bottling, I remember. And it was during our little venture through the different options. I wonder if it was the Flora and Fauna bottle. Let me take a look and see. No, it was a berries. It was a 2000, the year 2000, a 12-year cask, number 265 berries. Again, berries is something else. I said it had a subtle nose, vegetative notes, sage, vanilla, and mint. The palate had a slight mouth coat, like a light mouth coat, but tons of herbal, chewy greens, grass, and low-key sweetness. Dry, short finish of butterscotch and cream. It's a summer drink that needs to be paired with food. After a couple of drops of water, it didn't help the nose, but it brought out more medicinal qualities on the short finish. This is a 2.75 out of 5, 0.25 increments, but only because the sweetness brought some balance that saved it. It just wasn't my cup of tea, and the other guys were actually a little more ruthless, I think, for it. Let me see if I gave it a 2.75. Scott gave it a 1. Wow, he really hated it. Lee gave it a 2. Prane gave it a 1. And Paul gave it a 2.5. So I was the more accepting of the 5, and it was still rough. So that should tell you something. But berries doesn't really do justice with a lot of these bottles, I've noticed. So I wouldn't really go all in on the whole berries thing. But if you had a Glen Spey and it was overpriced and not complex, then I'm not surprised. Alligator's great. Hell yeah, backyard barbecue. Dude, I would give anything to try the alligator. I'm a huge Ardbeg fan. Just look back here. I've got the Core, I've got Ardbog, Kildalton, Araverdes, Perpetuum, Dark Cove, Kelpie, Grooves, the CR, the committee release version of Kelpie and Grooves as well. I'm a huge Ardbeg fan. I've never tried the alligator. I would love to get my hands on that bottle or a sample or something sometime. That's a unicorn bottle for me, so I'll have to dig deep and see if I can find hate to go to an auction, but that might be my only recourse to get something like that. Rock oysters. You guys are making me hungry again. Might be blended malts though. That's crazy. Yeah, it might be time for a little bit of food. I'm going to have to call it a day, guys. I really appreciate you sticking around. I do have to get going for work and whatnot, and finish this dram, and maybe get a little, a couple of chips in me before I crash. Thanks for hanging out, as always, and we'll do. I think next time I've got a couple options. I've got the Ardbeg 23. I've got a Dalmore 18. I know that some people aren't Dalmore fans, but hey, I do like the 18. We might have to take a look at that one. I think I've already killed my Pityvac 12. That was a pretty good dram, but it's way overpriced because it's dead distillery. That's a whole other story. We got McKellen rare cask we might take. There's a couple. Let's see. I think I already did a Talisker in East Point at the 57 North. I'll have to take a look and see if I've done that one already. But a Bowmore 10. Bowmore 12. I'm going to have to take a look at the basic Bowmore 12, see how that goes. I've never tried it before. I've had the 15, 18, 10, and number 1, but I never tried the 12. So be interesting to see what I think about that one. And we also have a brand new. We will do the Inchgower 14 Flora and Fauna bottle, as well as the Tinnick. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm probably way off. It's a 10-year also Flora and Fauna bottle. So that's going to be on the scope of new. And Friday, tomorrow, I'll be picking up a couple. I think at least one decent bottle for the next week, and we'll see how that goes. Thanks so much, Steven, for hanging in there. Sorry about the killing it. I know you just got here, but I do have to go early. But if you ever miss a show, please, just get it on the replay, play it afterward, and please subscribe and hit that bell if you want to be notified by streams. Sometimes I'm spontaneous on Saturday, Tuesday. You never know when I have a chance to do one. So, Slanchava, guys, and see you hopefully in a couple days or a few days. If not, definitely by next Thursday.